Hello everyone, and welcome to this new tutorial for the Magic Touch panel. So the original idea for this was to be a tutorial all focused on the watermark features that you can find inside the finished section, but I thought that it could be a good occasion to start with a really quick enhancement of an image to show how you can make something look better with our panel and really fast before applying your watermark. And I think we'll also have a look at some of the options for good measure. So let's head into Photoshop and see. This is our starting image and this is how it will look once we are finished with it. As I said, it's nothing too fancy or complex as the process consists of very few steps, but it's a pretty nice result considering that it will take us just a few clicks to get from one to the other. As a first step, let's delete our edit folder so we can start fresh. So the first thing I would like to do is increase the saturation of this image just a bit. So let's head into the look section and use the saturation adjustment. +1 could be fine, I'd say. As you can see, it created a new layer with the effect applied. And now that I'm talking about this, I think I could show you how the option relative to the look section works. So let's open the settings, click on the gear icon in the top right corner and see what's inside. I have the panel options here, but let me first reset it to the default values so that it will look as it is when you've just installed the panel. Let's close and reopen the tab. And you will see that it's gone back to default as the splash screen will appear when the panel loads. By the way, I love the splash screen, but if you would like to go straight to the panel, you simply have to uncheck the option View on Start. And the next time you open the panel, it will simply open where you left it. Let's go back to the looks option and see what this group with original does. When it's checked, if you apply any of the looks, the panel will create an original layer with the images as it is before the look is applied, and it will bundle it in a folder named with the look name together with the applied look layer. Right? This is always to have a quick before and after of the look and each step, so you can quickly retrace your steps. Of course, if you simply stuck one look after the other, is maybe a bit too much, but it can be a lifesaver if you alternate the looks with some of the features or effects. Some members of our team love it. I personally like to keep just the look layer, so I will uncheck this. And you will see when I click on the button, I will create a single layer with the applied look. This is something that will also keep the file lighter, so if you are worried about file size, it can be a good thing. Now, while I was trying some different stuff for this tutorial, I found out that I really like the way our beach wow look gives a sort of a washed out vibe to this image. Of course, this is not exactly a beach scene, but this shows you how you can try and experiment with the unusual to get a good result. By the way, as you probably notice, as I move through these buttons, a small preview appears on top, and this can help you a lot, especially with the variant looks, to show the differences there are between the various versions of the same look and decide which one could work best with your image. In this case, for Beach Wow, I really like version 4, so I'll click here. And before moving to the effects section, I really liked how the teal and orange look worked in this image, but it was really intense, so I think I will try a bit of a split toning with the same kind of colors. Nice. Okay. So when I first looked at this image, I thought that it would definitely look better if the sun were shining through the trees, and I noticed one of our lens flares inside the effects section that seems like it was made on purpose. So let's add it to the image and move it here. So as I'm going to add the rain in just a second, I think it could also be nice if to have some sort of rainbow effect that I can get with this circular halo. And this is really subtle, but helps selling the illusion a bit more. Now we'll get to the procedural effect and use deep rain. And keep in mind that in this case the word deep doesn't mean that you will get a very strong result like a thunderstorm, but it refers to the fact that this effect, as you can see, is composed by rain layers set at different depths from the observer. And now for the final touch, some bokeh or whatever. I've heard it pronounced 1,000 different ways, so you choose whatever you want. Keep in mind that these effects are procedural, so each time you apply it, you will have a different randomized result. It could take you a few tries to get exactly the one you want. So this one looks pretty nice, but you can simply undo it if you don't get what you want and click it again until you are satisfied with your effect. With this, I think we're finished with the effect, and I think we can now go to what was supposed to be the core of this tutorial, so the finish section. In there you have a lot of features that can help you get to the final look before exporting the image, and unfortunately at this stage I'm not authorized to show you the update that we are working on, but I can say that as this is supposed to be the final step of your workflow, we decided to move this section to the far right of the menu. So in the update, the utilities and finish will be swapped. Anyway, you can do a lot of stuff in here. So you can add details to the whole image or the layer, different types of grain, and blur just the background of your image. But in this case, I will directly head to the final touches area and darken a bit the corners of my image with a vignette. This will help me make my watermark stand out a bit more, and I don't want to change too much the look of the image, so a normal vignette should be enough. And keep in mind this is true for almost all effects. You can always make them more or less intense by varying the opacity. And now that everything is ready and our image is perfect, let's go and add our distinctive watermark that will proudly say to the world that we did this. So I've prepared a couple of PNGs for this tutorial. To add the new watermark, you simply have to click on the plus sign in the center of the image area. It will open a window where you can choose the image you want. And you can add almost everything in here, but my advice is to stick to PNGs because they can have a transparent background that will work better for the purpose, but nothing stops you from using JPEG or even a small PSDs. Maybe try to avoid images that weigh too much because they could make the process a bit slow depending on your computer. So I'll select this nice stamp-like watermark I prepared and will click open. Magic Touch will create a smart object with your watermark and place it in the center of the image at 100% scale with 75% opacity and a 50 pixel margin. Those are the default values, and the margin doesn't really matter right now, but it will in just a second. So now that the watermark is inside the image, you can of course move it around with the move tool, but you can also click on these areas to quickly set it to one of the predefined positions. As you can see, in all positions it keeps this distance from the sides of the image, and that is what the margin property is about. You can go here and increase it or decrease it like 30, and it will move accordingly. And you can also of course change the scale and the maybe a bit more, and the opacity like this, and I would like to get back to 100. Okay, as you see, each time I enter a number or click on one of these buttons, the property changes right away, and this is because I have these options selected, and this is called autoplace, and it's on by default. And if you hover it, a brief description appears on the same area that was used for the previews in the look section. And autoplay is really good, but the only problem that it has is that it can be a bit CPU intensive. So depending on the image you're working on, no matter what the watermark you're using, and of course your computer's power, it could be a bit taxing. That is why we decided to leave it the option. And if you have any problem with it, simply uncheck this, and any change you make will be applied only when you click on the place button. And once you're satisfied with the look of your watermark, you have to click on the apply button, and the auto watermark of smart object will be rasterized. And this means that it won't take any more changes from these controls, but of course you can manually change the layer itself. And now if you click again on the position widget, you will see that a new copy of the watermark will be added to the image. But of course, unless you are very proud of that particular watermark, 2 copies of the same one don't fit too well. So let's try to change it to something different, like this sign. And this will be applied with the same settings that you had for the other one. And you can change them later, but if you want to start fresh, you simply have to click on clear. It will remove the watermark and load it again, and it will load it with the default values. So how can I set it back to the position it was? Maybe again a bit more scale and less opacity. Anyway, when you feel you're ready to wrap it up, you can open the save image area and save the image as it is, as a PSD or as a copy in a different format, or even with the classic save for web interface. This image is probably a bit too big for that, but you get the idea. So I'd say we got to the end of this tutorial. I hope you learned something new and you will use the watermark feature to tag your beautiful images in an easy and quick way with Magic Touch. And I'll see you next time.